Hello, my name is Rita Rosenbach. I am the author of the book Bringing Up a Bilingual Child, and I am also the founder of multilingualparenting.com. Today, do another live Q&A, and I will answer one question that's been sent in advance, and if there are any live questions, I will answer those as well. So the question I'm answering today is from Daisuke, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. It's a Japanese name, and Japanese is not one of my languages. So please, Daisuke, do accept my apologies if it's not like it should be. So Daisuke and her husband are living in Finland. They've lived there for 3 years so far, and they're expecting a baby in January. Congratulations! What a fantastic thing to be expecting. It's not long to go now, just about less than 2 months. Congratulations. They've lived in Japan, in the US, and in Germany. Both Daisuke and her husband speak English, although, and these are Daisuke's own words, our English is far from perfect, and we have accents. They don't know how long they're going to stay in Finland, but they do feel that they should try to teach their baby at least Japanese and English, because their Finnish is quite limited. They think they wouldn't be able to teach a baby Finnish anyway. And Daisuke's question is, as neither of is a native speaker of English, we are going to speak to the baby only in Japanese. However, I just read that the ability for baby to distinguish R and L in English or different sounds in any other language gets worse after 6 months, or something like that. So, and Daisuke continues, I've started thinking we should start teaching English as soon as possible. But the question is how. So here are, and so Daisuke's questions are, as a non-native speaker of English, should we sometimes speak to the baby in English or not? And the second question, would there be an effective way to teach the baby English given our situation? Thank you so much, Daisuke, for your questions. First of all, I would like to tell you, don't put so much pressure on yourself thinking that you might miss out something if you don't do this, that, and the other before the baby is 6 months old. And children do become fluent with perfectly native accent even when learning a language after 6 months. Also, the children that learn a language before the age of 3 usually get a native accent in the language, but this varies. My own daughter started learning English when she was 6, and she's got a native English accent at the moment. She knew Finnish or Swedish and Punjabi when we moved to the UK. You do not mention where you have read about this, but I presume that what you have read is that babies start to focus in on the language they are spoken to. So babies are born with the ability to pronounce any sound or anything in all the world's languages. They have the capacity to do that when they're born. If a child only hears one language, then gradually their ability to natively express some of the sounds get less. And up to 6 months, it's all there, and then after 6 months, they start to focus in on the native language or the language that they hear if there's only one language. This doesn't, however, mean that you've missed a boat, or that your baby, if you don't speak English or any other language to a baby before 6 months, that your child cannot get become fluent and express or express all the sounds that in some mother language. So don't take this as an absolute. Like in any development, the things change over time, but it's not like at 6 months, okay, that's it. You haven't heard, if you haven't heard the English the, which I still have an accent in, you can't pronounce it after that, or the same with the R and L. So just feel confident that your child will learn to express these other sounds as well. Since you are in Finland, you've been quite a long time in Finland, and sounds like you still might be staying in Finland for some time. You don't mention, but are you thinking about putting your baby in having a nanny for your baby, or putting him or her pardon me, in a creche? Oh, right. My apologies. The only time when I didn't take a glass of water, I need it, so I'll be back in a second. Here we are. Sorry about that. So yes, but what I was speaking about was, if you're staying in Finland, then by having a Finnish-speaking nanny, or putting your baby in the nursery or small child. Hi Diana, and hi Lisa, glad to have you here. And they will hear the other language, so your baby would, if they spend some more time surrounded by Finnish, they will pick up Finnish and actually will pick up Finnish as natives. Finnish has has the R and the L sounds and many other sounds as well. So it's going to be okay. And with regards to your questions, so as a non-native speaker of English, should we sometimes speak to the baby in English or not? You haven't mentioned to me. You say it's far from perfect. You have accents. You write really well. So I can only judge by what I see in your your writing. So I don't see any reason why you wouldn't speak English with your child. You can decide, for example, to introduce some songs and rhymes. That's what I usually recommend that people start with. And you can dedicate a day in a week, for example, when you speak only English, all of you together. There are those who say you should only ever speak your native language with your child. I do not agree with that. If you feel that you want to pass on English as well, you can do it. There are many parents who have successfully done so. But you need to keep in mind is that your child will learn what he or she hears. So if there is an accent in your English and that is the only English that your child hears, then they will pick that up. That is completely logical. It doesn't, however, mean that they couldn't get a more native accent once they get interaction with native speakers of English. In Finland, I don't know where in Finland you live, but if you live in a bigger city, I'm sure you could also find, for example, playgroups for English speaking children, where you could take your child when he or she is a bit older, or if you have a chance to hire an au pair, or a nanny to come to your home and who would be a native English speaker. That would be a great way of bringing in English. So all of these things, you haven't given me details about your exact situation, but those are things that you can do. And yes, you can speak English yourself as well. If you want your child to have a native English accent, then you need to find a native speaker to interact with your child. So yeah, that was it. And hi, Gabby. Gabby is, let me just read your question, Gabby. Living in the UK, native language is Spanish and my husband is Greek and communicate in English. What's your advice so your baby can learn all three languages correctly? In your scenario, is more or less ideal for your child to grow up trilingual. Of course, this depends on both of you having enough interactive time with your child. So I would recommend that you speak Spanish and your husband speaks Greek. If you understand each other languages, I don't know if either you understand Greek or he understands Spanish, then you could choose one of them to be the home language, or you could even do it in a way that you speak Spanish and he speaks Greek. But if you do not understand each other's languages and English is your common language, then you can keep it like that, but only speak English with each other. With your baby, you would always speak Spanish and stick to that, and he would do the same. He would speak Greek. If you do not understand each other's languages, it will mean that sometimes there's something spoken to your child that you do not understand. And this is something you need to discuss in advance with your husband and agree that this is the way we are going to do it, and then agree to ask when you feel that now there was something I would have liked to understand, or I feel a bit left out. Then it's important that everybody's on board, everybody supports the plan, that you speak Greek, I speak Spanish with the baby always directly, because that is the prerequisite for the child learning both languages. English, as soon as your child goes to nursery or school, English will become the stronger language very quickly, and by that time it's important that you established the routine of Spanish with mommy and Greek with daddy, and just stick to it. Even it might be at the point where they go to a nursery and come home and answer you in English. That's a normal reaction of a child. Children are pragmatic. If they find easier, for example, due to the vocabulary or the words they're used to, something happened at the nursery, they want to tell you in English, that's fine. Just let them do it, but then you can recap maybe at bedtime in your language what happened, so they have the words and the vocabulary to answer. Please do ask any other questions, Gabby, if you have. And hi, Lisa, you have a question as well. Can you talk about the pros and cons of having your children enrolled in local schools when you as a parent are not fluent in the local language? Well, this depends on so many other things. It depends on whether you are planning to stay in the country or whether this is just for a short time. The pros of attending a local school is that the children will, especially if you plan to live somewhere for a longer time, they will grow up with the same knowledge and knowledge background as the local children. They will become fluent in the language, and they will integrate into the society really well. If you don't know the language, it will of course have its cons, because you might not, for example, be able to help your children with the homework always. Might struggle communicating with the teachers, although in Sweden, most teachers would also be able to communicate with you in English. So yes, it is. It's a bit harder, but in my opinion, for a child, it is better because they will feel more part of the society that way. For it will also probably spur you on to learn Swedish a bit quicker, and it will bring you into the Swedish society because you will be in contact with the Swedish parents, and it will improve your Swedish because the fact, especially with adult language learners, is if you read a lot, you learn to read. If you listen a lot, you learn to listen. If you speak a lot, you learn to speak. So the more you put yourself in situations where you will have to express yourself in Swedish, the better you will get. It is awkward at first, but remember that that it's for the other people will be truly appreciative of you trying. I know, especially with English speakers, that sometimes it's frustrating when the other native speaker switches to English as soon as you try. But as soon as when you make a bit more friends, ask them to stick to Swedish with you, and that will improve your language skills as well. If you're still there, Elisa, if you have any other questions with regards to that, please let me know. My own daughter went directly to an English-speaking school when we moved to the UK. She was 6. She didn't know any English, and it took her about 3 weeks, and she started to understand. I knew that from the questions I was asking, because initially she was not able to answer me, what did your school do in school today? It was kind of, well, we sat there and then we went to another room and then we did something else. So that was the answer the 3 first weeks. And after that, she was able to give me more detailed answers. So she had clearly started to understand. It took her 3 months to start speaking or using her English, and then it was onwards and upwards from there. Children do have an amazing capability to pick up the languages. I must say I'm quite envious when I see children, how quickly they learn, and how I know as an adult, when I try to learn some vocabulary or new language, how much more difficult it is. So those were, unless there are any other questions, those were the questions for this time. In the next session will be next week on Thursday again, on the 7th, I think. I will be speaking about, there will be only one main question in advance, but I will be speaking about bringing up a child with 3 or more languages. So what to do when you have to juggle a lot of languages, and what's feasible, and what shouldn't you do. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and please do keep those questions coming in. Thank you. Bye.